Live. Welcome everyone to another episode of The Creative Real Estate Agent. I'm Anastasia Forrest, broker associate with eXp Realty and creative person. And today I've got Flynn Blackie here. Flynn Blackie is an entrepreneurial, I'm going to say genius, but I don't really know. I think he's probably a genius. Located in, how do you say Edinburgh? Is that
Edinburgh,
right?
yes.
Edinburgh.
Close.
Okay. I'll have to
The last
practice that
part's
one.
pretty hard for Americans to get. Borough is how we say it.
Borough. Yeah, that's a sound we don't make a lot here. Over in Scotland, Flynn left school at the age of 16 to found a company he's calling Mod Digital. And he's now 18. He's worked with over 50 businesses. He provides lead generating services. And he's also been featured in some really prominent publications online, and that's actually how we connected. Flynn is also a finalist for the Great British Young Entrepreneur of the Year for 2021. So I'm really excited about chatting with Flynn about his unique approach and marketing, because in real estate, marketing is really huge, a very important part of what we do. So welcome to the show, Flynn.
Thank you very much for having me, Anastasia. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so where you are, it's 5 hours different, right? So it's like 3 p.m.
That's right. Yeah, just over 3 p.m.
Totally different time of day.
Totally, and pretty cloudy, but relatively warm. We're in kind of one of our hottest weeks of the year, and probably will be, and that's 23, 24 degrees Celsius. So not exactly sure how that translates in Fahrenheit, but pretty hot. It's not that hot compared to a lot of places, but not too bad for over here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're kind of it's usually a lot. I mean, it's definitely hot and humid, but honestly, I think the summer has been a bit more mild than some of the previous ones. But anyway, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is this award that you're up for. I saw on LinkedIn that you are a finalist for the Young Entrepreneur of the Year 2021 in the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. That sounds super exciting, and you've got like a huge following on LinkedIn. I think last time I looked, it was like maybe 50 comments, probably more now. What's so exciting about this particular award? I mean, it sounds awesome, but just can you tell me more about what it means for you and your career?
Absolutely. I mean, just over 2 years ago, I was still, at high school. So to be in the award, which for me, the best part about it is the people who I'm competing against for winning it, but also the people in the other categories who I'm going to hopefully, COVID depending, meet at the award ceremony itself. And just to be in there and mixing and networking with these amazing people just 2 years after being at high school. I mean, you could have told me that this would have happened 2 years ago and I would never have believed you. I would have believed in myself to achieve it, but I wouldn't have thought, wow, like it would happen that quickly. And it's just, really a real pleasure and a real, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I've been able to get there so quickly. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, as I say, meeting everyone. I met them. I was a finalist last year as well. So that was only, 14 months after leaving school. So it's amazing. Yeah. And this year we'll get to meet in person, which is just really exciting.
Oh, wow. That is exciting. That's really cool. So is it under, like, basically under 21? What do they consider young?
It's actually under 30. So I didn't win last year, obviously. But
it's a big pool of people.
Yeah, it is quite big. So the person who won last year, I think, was 27 or 28. So we'll see what happens.
Wow.
Maybe the judges this year will go for a bit more youth. But the positive side of that is that I have 12 years left to try and win it. So if I'm not successful this year, I'm just gonna keep at it till we get there.
Good for you. That's a great attitude. And I guess that it really is the kind of attitude you have to have as an entrepreneur. Was it scary, kind of making the decision to leave school and go full force into your dream?
It was, yeah. The decision came after I'd built some foundations and I knew that there was more scope to take it further, it didn't feel like a massive risk to me, but that was more of a mindset thing, right? That was more of a, I know that I'm going to make this work sort of scenario, rather than, you know, I'm dropping out because I think this is a good opportunity. It wasn't really like that. It was more of a, I'm going to go and I'm going to make this work. But there's still, so much of that fear of failure, fear of, judgment. I didn't even tell a lot of people when I first left. The school were kind enough to give me kind of 2 month grace period if I wanted to come back, which was pretty nice of them. And I would have just had to be, really intensive into the studying when I came back. But of course, in my head, it wasn't ever going to happen. But having that kind of safety net there, and not telling people, because at that point I was kind of feared of had a fear of what people would say, or you've failed, that kind of thing. But something I don't really care about now, but at that time, when you're just leaving high school and everything in your life is circled around everyone's opinion of you, stuff like that. So that part was daunting, but as I say, I knew that I was going to make it work.
Oh, lost an AirPod there. Good for you. Yeah. It sounds like you stay in control of your destiny, and that's great that you've been able to overcome the fear and the doubts that you had. That's great. So I actually, do you guys have, is it the same? Is it freshman, junior?
No, we have,
did I do that wrong? Yeah, I did
yeah,
that wrong.
we have primary, or we have nursery, which is kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the ages of about 5 to 11 or 12, you've got primary school, and there's 7 years of that. And then you've got high school, which is from basically 12, 13, all the way up to 17, 18. And then
Oh,
you go to college or
wow.
university. So it's really, you have 2 schools and then college or university.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's very different to be in high school by 12 or 13. Well, I mentioned to you off this podcast that I also did, I stopped going to high school in my 9th grade year, which was freshman here.
Freshman
And
year, okay.
yeah, and then ended up, actually went right to college though. So I started college at 16 at a community college. Do you plan to go to college, or you don't feel like it's not
not at this
necessary?
point. No, not at
Oh,
this point. I
yeah.
think college over here is a little better because most of it's free. So it's less kind of a risk. You're not putting up investment or
Oh my
money to go
gosh.
in. Same with, well,
Oh.
university is, you don't have to pay for university per se, but you have to spend on your accommodation if you go to another place. But I know it's a lot cheaper here, by my understanding of the two systems.
Gosh.
But I don't think,
Wow.
for me, it's like 4 years or 2 years to go and invest. And at this point where I've, built up so much in the last 2 years that, the 2 years I've been out of school, I've eradicated everything in the last, or in the, 10 building up to it, however many years I was at school. And I just think, going into further education is a good idea for people who, you want to study to be like a nurse, a doctor, or like a dentist or a teacher. If there's an industry or a job that you want where it's specific to, or it's a requirement, you have to have this degree, or you have to go and study X, Y, or Z. In that case, I would obviously recommend going to university, going and studying it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go start a business, or you want to learn a practical skill, my suggestions always stay out of the debt that will come attached to university or college. Don't go and
Mm-hmm.
waste 4 years of your life doing it. And most importantly, go and get the practical experience and the connections within that industry that you want to work in. That's a better use of your time, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. No, wow. First of all, you just blew my mind with the whole free college thing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I just love college. I love to learn, and I love libraries,
Sure.
and I'm just like a nerd. So I like that part of it. But to be honest with you, it was a huge waste of money in a certain way. I mean, because, I studied random stuff.
Sometimes you've got to learn that you don't like it, though, right? Because if you
Yeah.
didn't go and spend the money, you wouldn't know that you didn't like that stuff, and you maybe have kind of that kind of FOMO or regret of not going and doing it. But when you do it and
Yeah.
then you learn, like, okay, wrong decision, but what am I going to go and do now?
Yeah.
That's the advantage.
Yeah, I don't regret anything, but yes, debt, school debt is a real thing. But anyway, so that's really cool. So let's talk about what you do. So what did you start doing when you left school?
So we started as kind of like a web design. Basically, it was all me, right? So freelance kind of web design and a little bit of branding. We did some social media stuff. It was all kind of trying out new things to see what was kind of attractive to new clients and prospects, to see what they wanted,
Mhm.
and also, what I was good at as well. I obviously wanted to do stuff I was good at. So as I say, we started as a web design, kind of doing freelance stuff, building people websites. But what we found is that people weren't really capitalizing on the websites that they had, right? They would get these websites and they would get a little bit of traffic. They would have it in their Instagram bios or however they want to, work like that.
Mhm.
But they weren't really doing anything with it. They weren't capitalizing. They weren't making the most of the website. And so I went through this kind of transitional period where I would look at those different services, like I say, of social media management and trying a bunch of doing a lot of kind of jack of all trades stuff, which didn't work, but it was a good kind of pivotal piece. As I said to you with regards to the kind of college stuff, you didn't know that it wasn't what was going to work or what you wanted to do with your career until you tried it and realized, all right, so maybe that wasn't the right thing for me, but I don't regret doing it because I learned from it. Um, and so we were trying all of these kind of throwing everything into one bundle service, that kind of thing. And then I began to realize more of what was adding the value, right? What was getting put in, what was generating a result, and what was kind of being wasted. I'm not sure if you've heard of, I think it's Palito, I think his name is, the 80-20 principle, which
Mhm.
kind of basically states where, 20% of the work that you put in brings back 80% of the results, and then therefore 80% of the other stuff you're working on is only generating 20% of the results. And that was kind of what happened. I realized that what we were doing and all of these throw it into one hat services, I was trying to bulk it up with things and deliverables. But what really needed to be shifted was we needed to be selling the result. And that was what's kind of taken us to where we are now, is understanding what's generating a real result for the client and implementing that and actioning it for them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I mean, that principle is definitely in a lot of different real estate books, and I've definitely have heard, just firsthand experiences of how much businesses have grown when they really hone in on that 20%.
Hmm.
That's bringing them the 80% of the results. So what did you end up really digging into? Like, what are you focusing on now at this time?
So it's kind of like a system, right? So you can have different parts without the other, but the way we like to operate is when all three of those pieces are aligned. Um, so we begin it with, well, there's a customer facing journey and there's the way that we would structure it, right? So the way that we would structure it is we would build the website and the funnel, right? The kind of client transformation. So they go from being a stranger to a prospect or to a lead. And they do that on the website funnel where we offer some value, or we say, request a quote, request a callback, these kind of different things. And we get them to basically give their details in order for our clients to be able to phone them, email them, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we build the adverts that these people are going to see in order for them to hit the website in the first place. So we do targeted ads, Facebook, Instagram, Google, and we serve them to our prospects or our clients, right? Our clients' prospects.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
that's how we operate. We get them, we put their business, we put the landing page that we've built for our clients in front of people who are ready to buy now or who are ready to give their information. We give them the exact steps on the landing page in order to do so that they become a lead. And then the final part is the lead nurturing, right? Because sometimes if you've got people downloading like an ebook, you don't particularly want your sales team to be picking up the phone and calling every single person that's downloaded an ebook, because you're going to have
Mm-hmm.
a large volume. And we get them for for cheap. For ebooks, we can get our clients a lot of downloads for not a lot of cost. So we've got to be careful because we don't want our clients wasting their time, wasting their money on their salesperson, because ultimately the cost per lead goes up if they're wasting their sales team's hourly rates, hours on calling kind of dead leads. So what happens next, Anastasia, is we have to turn that lead from an ebook or from, downloading a white paper or something like that. We need to nurture that person so that they're closer to the sale, and then we give them to the salesperson. So what might happen next is if they download an ebook, we might send them to a webinar or to, some sort of live class, or maybe it's at that point that we say, request a quote from us. So we don't want low quality leads. We want to get leads at high volume and then filter them down to the highest quality while simultaneously building rapport, so that when the sales team do pick up the phone, it's like there's already a relationship there, despite the salesperson not doing anything. That's been all of kind of marketing's job.
Right. Nice. Yeah. Reminded me of the cover of, have you read anything by Chris Smith by any chance?
No.
He wrote this book called The Conversion Code. I read during my first year in real estate, and literally the picture on the front of the cover is a funnel. So it's like, get those in, get the leads in, and funnel them down.
Absolutely.
No, that's great that you guys are able to do that, help nurture the relationship with these prospective clients. Definitely, and sort of pre-qualify them, make sure they're serious. And then the your client is able to focus on, those people. That's very smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of clients do you serve mostly?
Mostly it's lead generation. We've got a few e-commerce clients, but I would say I know a lot of agencies niche down in who they work with. But the way I felt has been, again, through trialing and seeing how things pan out. But because I believe in our system so much, after all of these iterations we've made and continue to make to it, for sure, but we don't really niche down into a specific. We don't, have on our website that we only work with real estate or we only work with, life coaches and things like that. We have a very broad kind of landscape of who we work with, but the fundamentals are always the same, right? It's always the same system. We always work the same in the sense that we look at our clients' prospects and how we can resonate with them. That's the most important part. It's not what our client does and what their business is. It's what their prospects look like, how we can reach them, how we can inspire them to convert and take action. And that's what we base our decision on. But most of our leads, come organically to us rather than, us doing cold calling or cold outreach. So we get to kind of handpick who we want to work with, which is a really kind of great place to be at as an agency, for sure.
Oh yeah, that is a great place to be at, especially even in real estate. That's a wonderful place to be at.
Definitely.
When you gather enough notoriety and enough respect and demand that you get to choose,
And that's almost what we do for our clients, right? We've got on our website that is kind of putting an end to, we find a lot of the pain points from our clients is they're having to make these cold calls or cold emails and generate cold traffic, which I always think having a skill in being able to generate cold is great. But having these digital marketing systems in place where it's basically like an automatic pipeline of new clients, it enables you to do so much with your business when you don't need to fear where your next customer is going to come from.
Right. No, guys, people listening, this is definitely true what he's saying. It's a pain point, but as I'm a creative person and I love learning new skills, I dug right in and taught myself, web building. I taught myself Facebook advertising, and I've definitely, I have ebooks. I have like a seller's guide, a buyer's guide, and I have, I design my own drip campaigns and stuff like that. But oh my gosh, what a huge amount of time that someone would put into that, who's also trying to sell real estate and actually help clients buy and sell, doing the actual real estate work. It can become a whole additional job. So it's hard to do it consistently and do it well and practice real estate. But if you stop doing one, all of a sudden you don't have the leads in your in your
Yep.
funnel. So having somebody like Flynn Blackie or somebody helping you to run that side of the business is very, very helpful. So how many people, I mean, that sounds like a lot of work. How many people do you have in your team?
Well, we're hiring at the moment, actually. Um, so when we finish hiring, we're bringing on two more, but we'll have four full time and two part time, and one kind of
Oh,
contracted person that we work with consistently as well.
wow. Do you separate special into specializations for each person, or do they do
Yeah,
everything, each of them?
absolutely. No, I don't like, for me anyway, I know that people obviously have success doing it the other way, but I
Mhm.
don't like when you get someone who specializes in one thing and you start asking them just because they have a bit extra time
Yeah.
to do something else. I mean, I would always almost rather have someone, as I say, part-time. Most of the people that work for me start part-time, and then we build up their
Mhm.
hours as we get to know each other, and
Mhm.
as the relationship grows, as their workload grows. But I'd rather be paying someone to sit and do nothing almost, rather
Mhm.
than paying them to do someone else's job, and
Yeah.
having like a kind of everyone doing general activities. Yes, the answer to your question is
Mhm.
someone very specific who they've spent a lot of time specializing in that field, right? They've become an expert in what they do, and I want them to do it for me at the highest level. So we look for
Mhm.
absolute specialists, and it becomes like a project management kind of managing. We have really great systems in place for communication and collaboration, so that if a graphic's needed for one campaign and the copies needed, everything just gets synced really well
Mhm.
together. And I think almost team building is the most important part, right? Because you
Mhm.
can be exceptional at what you do, but when you want to scale up, you might be the best at what you do, but if you can't manage other people doing it, or you can't effectively delegate, etc., then it just becomes a huge mess, and you go from thinking in your head, I can start a business myself because I'm getting paid to do this, I'm really good at it, and then you make that transition, and then you're like, holy shit, I can't actually run an effective company here. And that's where I think a lot of people get tripped up. And for me, whilst I
Mhm.
was good at web design and stuff like that, for me, I like being able to strategize and
Mhm.
delegate.
Wow. Yeah, that's got to be an extremely important part of what you're doing. And I'm sure you're learning all kinds of skills that would have been really hard to learn in a classroom.
Definitely.
Yeah. Running a business is different. I totally agree. I don't have a ton of experience on that side. I mean, I have experience being my own business person and incorporating my husband into that because he's a real estate agent as well. So it's like a small team. But then you start to add people and add things, and that delegating is very hard at first for me because I know how to do it, and it's easier just to do it sometimes than teach someone else to do it.
Totally. Totally.
But
Yeah,
but
sometimes you just
that's
want
how
to do
you
it
grow.
yourself, but then you lose the ability to, again, it's like we said, when you have that system in place to where you know where your next client's coming from at all times, you don't have to worry about that. It means you can
Yeah.
focus on important things. And likewise, when you can delegate the repetitive tasks,
Mm-hmm.
um, and manage it, then you also kind of have that clarity and peace in your mind to go and work on the important stuff for the growth of your company, or even if you're a freelancer, etc. Outsourcing, your invoices and all of that. Like, these things take up time, but you could be
Mm-hmm.
spending doing the more important stuff.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Talking to you, I feel like I'm talking to somebody that's been in business for like 20 years. It's crazy that you're 18 years old.
Yep.
Good, good for you. That's exciting. It's neat. It's neat that you're doing all this. What do your parents think?
They love it.
Uh,
It's funny, I think it's become pretty normal for them though.
mhm.
Until we sit down with like one of my friends, or like someone else who's got kids, and then they're like, wow, he's actually doing something completely different. Like, then it kind of reality sinks in a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely become normal. But they love it. Yeah, they like what I do, for sure.
Did they do entrepreneurial things, or they have more traditional, do they have traditional
No,
roles? Yeah.
no, yeah, definitely traditional. My mom
Mhm.
works as a school secretary, and my dad worked as like a bit of a salesman. salesman
Mhm.
for like a pharmaceutical company.
Okay, very interesting. Wow. Where did you hear about all this, lead gen stuff? Where did you get exposed to this?
I've always been like a massive, although I wouldn't call myself like a typical geek, I'm definitely still a geek, like video games, all of that stuff. And that was really my route in. Actually, the first website I built was for someone I'd been playing Fortnite with for a while. So it was really kind of being bored on one piece of technology and going to the next. And I always
Mhm.
had a passion for, learning new things on my computer and, just all things digital, as well as, a passion for being independent, doing things for myself and kind of trying to lead.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the feeling of leadership for sure. And I kind of merged those two together, and this became my vehicle for it. But as soon as you get
Mhm.
into one of those spaces, as I'm sure you are because you're so embedded in real estate, is as soon as you're in there, everything you start hearing is all about real estate, and it only grows as you embed yourself more. All of these algorithms, right, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they optimize your content to what you're starting to get interested in. So it all just
Mhm.
happens like that.
Right. Yeah. An organic, a mixture of organic, I guess, and also just technology, just connecting everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to talk about how I connected with you,
sure.
because I think it's interesting. So I read about Flynn in an article on medium.com. I don't know if you guys have heard of Medium, but it's basically a website platform for writers of any. You don't have to have a college degree in writing or be a published author. Anybody can write articles. And there are publications, various publications. Some of them are about business related things like marketing. Others are about many other things. There's humorous ones, satire publications, and etc. There's more. But in this particular article, it was called "A 17-year-old crafted the best marketing email I've read," and it has convinced several big writers to write about him. Was like the subtitle. So, and it was by Ash Gerberg, which is one of the popular names that you see a lot. So he's got a prominent readership and visibility. So I was really curious about this marketing email because like as I mentioned, I like writing my own drip campaigns, and I was curious to see what did the 17-year-old say that got this writer to write about him, somebody he didn't know, reaching out to him. So it included quotes from the email, and a big part of it. Oh, I totally got off topic because I was talking about anyway. We'll get back to the thing I was going to say, but a big part of this was how you, uh, Flynn, were so interested in him and his work. And he said he impressed me because he kind of stoked my ego by bringing up different articles I'd read, and also telling me about these other writers that I know of that I'm impressed by as well, that they've written about. Anyway, he built this rapport through an email, which is hard to do. So I was wondering, I just kind of wanted to ask you, like, is this something that you found helpful in general, just in making these connections? And I mean, would you say that's something that could apply in real estate too, just building that rapport by being interested in the other person?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with that final sentence there. It's building rapport by being genuinely interested. A lot of people, and we do this with our advertising as well. A lot of people will advertise and talk solely about the product, how good it is, everything, why you need this product, or likewise, some people might jump into an email and talk all about themselves and say, you should have me as your podcast guest because I'm this. But what I found is that people really care mostly. Everyone's guilty, actually. People care about themselves mostly everyone cares about themselves as the most, right? The most important person in your life is you. Your kids may be, super important, but ultimately you're above them because caring for them is like part of you. I mean, we can get all into that, but um, too many people, bottom line is too many people talk about themselves, and that's part of that thing, right? Part of people caring about themselves, but showing an interest in the other party or the other person, and being genuine about the interest is the most important part. Too many people fake interest, whereas I had clearly read, Ash's article and clearly read his other work. And it's a part of that, actually applying yourself, putting the time in and being genuinely interested is what a lot of people are missing. That's the fundamental part. You can have a beautiful script for your email. You can, have all the buzzwords. You can have great credibility and you can name drop some awesome people. But ultimately, you want to talk about either what's in it for them or at least show an interest, show that you care about them. And I think that's what's lacking in so many different aspects of marketing and business, etc. And with your question with regards to real estate, I mean, you don't even have to look at it from an email perspective, right? You can look at, can you be more interested as a realtor in your clients, in your prospects, and what their needs are, what they're looking for? And I know that if you're selling, a lot of people will say, I'm already doing that, and that's great. But yes, it's keeping kind of what they're interested in or showing appreciation for them is vital.
Very nice. Well, it clearly worked. And that, in that article was very popular. I think people were curious to hear, well, what did this email say? How do you do this?
Definitely.
And yeah.
Take, for example, as well, the thing you shared with me before our podcast, it was almost like you were surprised that I read it, right? Because people don't take that extra time. But I think doing that and spending the time to be interested, pays dividends, even if you're not trying for it, even if you're not trying to get anything out of it anyway.
Yeah, that's good. The motivation part too. Yeah, just right. You're just putting it out there and just seeing what happens. So I thought it was really interesting that the next day after I read the article, I got a message from you on LinkedIn, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so weird! I just read an article about this person last night," and you had seen that I guess that I read it or I responded to it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. That's
so
really
I
cool.
saw you'd clapped on it, and I do my best to look for interesting people to connect with off the back of it as well. People who commented, I try and respond to all of the comments, even though I'm not the author. It's still I'm tied into it, so it's always fun. Yeah, and I like making new connections, as I'm sure you can tell.
Yeah, definitely. And that's huge. I don't think many people go that far. I don't think many people recognize that there's value to be found in even something like that. Like you said, I didn't write it. I'm not the author, but it has to do with me. So why don't I connect with the people that were interested in the article? Like, that's really smart. Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. Definitely not.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so I think in real estate, definitely, that can definitely be applied to what we do as well, because oftentimes our leads may come from places where we may not realize. And by becoming involved in a certain hobby or a certain group of people, or even some kind of volunteer work, you might end up finding leads. Like, didn't you end up doing some things during COVID-19 that had to do with helping out?
I did, yeah. I did. I set up like basically a free consultation call for anyone who wanted one. And if they wanted a call, we jumped on, we talked about things, how they could position their business better online. And that was really that was it. I didn't ask for anything in return. Sometimes on the call, I ended up with a couple of new clients as a result of it. But most of the time it was just, yeah, you should do this, you should do that. And I received press attention from a big bank over here for it. So again, it's giving without an expectation in return sometimes pays higher dividends than being really silly and asking for something.
Right. Yeah, that's really inspiring. That's really inspiring. So I know you're a busy person. I'm not going to keep you much longer. I did want to ask you, because it's a timely question, and you're a technology person. And I'm not an expert in this at all. I've heard some things. I haven't dug into it too deeply personally, but I'm curious as far as the changes that are happening legally, and with, I think it's specifically recently with iPhone, where people are being able to change off, I don't want to be tracked, I don't want to be part of this data pool of information for advertisers. Does that affect what you're doing? Do you have to pivot a bit and change your approach with Facebook advertising and various advertising?
Because we rely a little less on, or not a little less, but there's people who are more dependent on the targeting, agencies that are more dependent on the targeting than we are, whereas we like to, as I say, make our messages resonate, and build it around prospects, problems, etc. It hasn't hit us too hard. Plus, we implemented all of Facebook's recommendations. We're always straight on top of things. We don't want our clients to suffer anything. But what I will say about that whole ordeal is Apple are a massive company, right? They're what? They're not at 2 trillion, I don't think, but they were at 1 trillion not so long ago, which is they were the first company to hit that, I think. And Apple they're known everywhere, right? Their phones, the advancements in their technology obviously are still huge, but when you compare the iPhone 10 to the 12 versus the 3 to the 6 or the 3 to the 7, they are not getting as big improvements. And from my perspective, I called this out to my team when we were looking at how we were going to solve this for our clients when it very first happened. And I was kind of going off on a rant like, this is Apple not running out, but clutching onto a new way of selling, right? They're tapping into that privacy, and personalized ads are made to help you have a better experience advertising, right? They're not malicious tracking. It's not malicious tracking. It's not Mark Zuckerberg sitting there. I don't think the billionaire Mark Zuckerberg can really care about what soccer team you support or what your favorite color is. And all of the data is hashed anyway, which means they can't actually pull up your profile and see your interests. You're always going to have the same amount of ads on your platform, no matter what personalization or privacy is involved there. But Apple have spun it to make it sound like it's malicious, so that lo and behold, they just released an advert for it as well to try and sell more. Apple cares about your privacy. We don't let these people track you and stuff like that. I can't remember what their tagline was.
It's their pain point that they're trying to help.
I probably turned off the TV afterwards, but yeah, Apple are just, I think, using this privacy thing as a new way of selling and a new way of pretending that, or a new way of saying that they really care about their customers and we care about your data. I mean, look at your health app. Apple's got your steps, your heart rate. It's not exactly like they're innocent themselves. So yeah, that whole ordeal, I'm doing my ranty thing again, but that whole ordeal is just, in my eyes, it's Apple trying to sell more. It's nothing. It's no care about privacy. It's money, as it always is.
Wow, that's really interesting. Oh my gosh, but I didn't think about it that way as a new angle for selling more iPhones. That's very interesting. Yeah. So you guys, what are you doing to work around it? Just, I mean, is there a way around it?
There was recommended changes. It's not really affected our campaigns. We've actually been able to still generate better results for some clients. There was a bit of a dip. There was like a kind of weak down period, but domain verification, which was just something that Facebook recommended, making sure you have these aggregated event measurements so that you can still track your leads, etc. But yeah, honestly, nothing too major.
Oh, well, that's great to hear. Well, before we wrap this up, let's speak directly to real estate agents. And I mean, can you tell realtors exactly what you do for them? If they wanted to reach out, maybe,
sure,
connect with you.
Sure. So we're even working with real estate trainers. So people who are training others how to get into real estate and stuff like that. But with the real estate clients we work with home buyers and also, auctioneers and stuff like that. We're often looking for sellers as opposed to buyers because we want to generate in the masses. So selling for, a bunch of different properties. If we want to target the ads for, a specific house, we need to be very precise about our imagery, etc. So what we're mostly targeting is new sellers, attracting new sellers. But what we do is we run these paid ads to exactly who's going to be likely to want to sell. We look at different pain points to make it resonate, right? So we'll look at people who've inherited a property that they don't want, or people who have just gone through a divorce. These are all options available. And we'll look at our messaging to ensure that what we're saying and what we're telling these people is going to trigger them to understand, okay, this company is actually who can really help me with this. And then we put them on the funnel. What we might do is request a callback, request a quote for the property. We've had free instant valuation tools in the past as well. So they type in their zip code, name, everything about their property. So the clients that we have end up getting the entire property they want to sell, first name, last name, phone number, and email address without even having to speak to them. And then we'll nurture it if they require a little bit more. Maybe we'll give away like a how to sell your home or industry things you need to be wary of, ebooks, that kind of thing, and then we'll funnel them down to requesting for a quote.
Very cool. Sounds super streamlined. That's great. That's fabulous. Well, how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in potentially hiring you?
Yeah, absolutely. This little background thing up here, that's the website that we have. It's moddigital.co.uk, moddigital.co.uk. So jump on there or connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll get a response either way.
Wonderful. Well, how amazing that you could actually help people all over the world with what you do, because you're in the technology world. That's very cool.
Yeah,
well, I'm gonna
it's lucky.
yeah, that's really neat. It was so nice having you on the show. It's been really informative, really interesting, and also inspiring. So I'm sure people are going to get a lot out of this. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me on, Anastasia. I appreciate it. It was fun.